Hello you absolute legends, welcome back to the channel. John here on a beautiful wintry day here in Lincolnshire. Christmas is fast approaching. There are 12 days left until the big day, and we're going to do something a little bit different. Over the next 12 days, a countdown to Christmas, a John Coupland Cars advent calendar of financial ruin, mistakes, rot and actual financial gains. Some good cars are on the way. Each day we will open the door of our mythical advent calendar of cars that have come and gone to the John Coupland Cars collection, counting down to my favourite and the one that I really wish I hadn't sold. Behind each door will be a different car, and we shall start, as we mean to go on, with number 12. And here it is then. Here is number 12 in the countdown. It is a 1.6 litre Rover 45 from 2004, the pre-facelift, by the way. And these photographs that we're looking at are the photographs that I saw the car for sale advertised with on Facebook Messenger. It actually popped up randomly on a Rover group local to me, and the car was less than 3 miles away from my house. The photographs made the car look very good. I did a quick MOT check and it looked very clean. Less than 50,000 miles, but quite a few owners. Messaged the lady that had it for sale and immediately went to have a look at the car, this being New Year's Day. I have a habit for buying cars over the Christmas period, so maybe I could pick something new up this Christmas. The photographs, as I say, make it look good. I'm aware that it's the 1.6 K series engine, and it was advertised for £400 with a head gasket fault. Well, you know what happened next. £350 I gave the lady. I drove the car home with minimal issue, saying that it was only 3 miles down the road, and there clearly was a head gasket fault because it tried to overheat. But I got it back on the drive, and here it is. It was very early days in the John Coupland Cars channel, so all I did with the car, video-wise, was we'll make a video showing people around the car. We'll talk about what happened to it and work that Dad and I did on the car in the video and closer to the end. But let's take a look at the car and have a look at some of the clips from that original video. You can see that I'm having a good look around it, and the car, once driving it home, does appear to be cosmetically in very good condition. Those alloy wheels, really nice and sharp and shiny, and wheel arches free from rust and rot. Now, like I've said in many videos, cosmetic damage to paintwork, to bodywork, Dad and I aren't very good at. We are not painters, but we can sort out mechanical problems, and one thing we struggle to sort out is things like rust. So I will always buy a car if it's cheap, if it's cosmetically very good and rot-free, and if it needs some mechanical TLC, well, we can do that. My initial walk around of the car is, by the way, on the channel, and I'll put the link to that in the description. You'll have to bear with me though, because I'm not as comfortable behind the video and the microphone in that video as I am, well, nowadays. Anyway, I got the car home, 1.6 impression, and the first impressions was very good. Very good indeed. Dad, okay with these because, as you know, or you may not know, he was working in the garage trade, working for Rover when these were released brand new. And if you haven't seen Rover 75 series on the channel, this actually predates that. You may not have known that I've had a K-Series engine and repaired well too prior to the Rover 75. The styling on the 45, being a 2004 and the Impression model, had a few extra features, including this rear spoiler and reversing parking sensors. I'm not sure 100% if it was a dealer special, the Impression model, but it had some mod cons and it had some base spec things as well. Headlining was good. Take a look at that. And the interior was quite good as well. Yes, door cards were sagging in the car. In fact, every single door card was sagging, but the interior velour, half cloth seats were in very good condition. Sadly, it was missing its original Rover floor mats. No idea where they went, but inside the glove box, there's the wheel cap removal tool, was the paperwork and the documentation. I could see that it had a timing belt at some point in its life. It had also probably had a head gasket previously. That centre console excited me, especially because I saw that it got air conditioning, which didn't work. What am I doing there? Fondling the gear knob and getting excited about cup holders. That, quite flimsy, and actually needed a bit of a repair. But overall, the car, as I said in the beginning, and as I said, was in very good cosmetic condition. I had a good look underneath it, and actually Dad had a good look underneath it when I had filmed this video, and it was solid, totally rust-free. Or so we thought. Find out by the end of the video what happened to it. Original keys, original fob, all the electrics worked, and as you can see, 46,940 miles. And I really loved those pre-facelift white dials, and look at that Viking ship in there. Oh, you can't hear the horn, but I pipped it there. There was an issue with the locking barrel. I think it was pinging out, and somebody had done a terrible repair. But in the boot, someone had also lost the parcel shelf. Spoiler alert, I managed to find myself a parcel shelf, if you haven't watched the video, and it was, I think, £15 locally, but I had a good old look around, and Dad and I went to a couple of breakers yards trying to get one, and then one magically popped up on Facebook Marketplace. There it is then, that was the problem. This is why this car was so cheap, because the head gasket had failed, and it had failed catastrophically. Somebody in its previous life had fitted an MLS steel gasket and not done it properly, I think, so it had failed. Those are the video clips then, and now we're looking at some photographs from the car. I gave it a good old wash and a good old clean and took it round to Dad's. So you can see it's in Dad's workshop, and Dad, I think, was quite excited about this one. He stripped down the head on the car that afternoon. He diagnosed that the head gasket had gone, the hoses were spongy, and actually as we were squeezing it, water was pouring out of the block. Like I said, no photographs of, no videos, beg your pardon, of us doing the work on the car, but you can see that Dad started to strip it down, and there is the cylinder head. And he was like a kid at Christmas doing this. And again, this was pre-John Coupland Cars YouTube channel, pre-Dad and I working on cars, and I'd bought the car because I liked it. I didn't buy it to sell. I bought it to enjoy and have as part of my collection. And at that point, Mrs. John Coupland was not as tolerant as she is now with me having multiple cars. I don't know how many cars are in the collection at this time, but as you can see, we did a timing belt while we were there at the same time. Fitted all new head bolts, there they are, fitted an all new multi-layer steel gasket, and kind of handy really, Dad doing this a couple of years before the Rover 75, because it helped him refresh his memory about doing a K-series engine. There's the old gasket, and it had just totally failed. There's lots of arguments and things on the internet about the K-series engine. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. Some people will tell me it's utter shocking. It's utter nonsense, the K-series engine. Some will say otherwise. In fact, let me know in the comments down below. K-series engine, a good engine or a terrible engine? I'd like to hear your views on that. So we repaired the car. Here's some more photographs from the repair, and it took Dad and I an afternoon once we'd got all the stuff, and gave the system a good old flush out and made sure we filled it with oat coolant, because I think that was part of the problem as well, people using wrong coolant in it. What happened to the car then? Well, at that time I was working with a chap who was driving a X-Type, a Jaguar X-Type, and it went bang. He knew I'd bought this car, and his father had worked previously for Rover and had had Rovers. You can see giving it a thumbs up because we'd done the job. He pestered me and pestered me and pestered me to buy the car off me, and so I did sell it to him when his Jaguar went bang. There were further issues with the car, and I felt quite guilty about that, which is why I do not sell cars to friends now. However, since July 2024, MOT has lapsed and it's been off the road. I fear it has been squished, but it did serve him well for a couple of years, 10,000 miles. Cheap motoring for the sake of 900 quid. So I made a little bit out of it. Dad made a little bit out of it, and he got a car that he could use with his family for a couple of years. I hope you've enjoyed this video of us looking around the Rover 45. What do you reckon? Should I have kept this one? Or did I do the right thing to let it leave the Coupland collection? More cars coming on the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already done so, comment down below. What did you reckon? Was it one that I was right to get shot of, or should I have kept it? And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Till next time, have a great day. Thanks for watching. See ya. Welcome back to the John Coupland Cars 12 Days of Christmas Countdown. It's day number 11. If you haven't seen the previous video, it's on the channel. Every day a different car from the collection that has come and gone, and we're talking about its history. In this video then, number 11. Number 11 then is this. Look at that. It's a 2006 Ford car. Ford KA, Ford Ka. Let me know in the comments down below how you say it. I call it the Ford KA, and I'm not going to apologise for that. I bought it then for £600. I saw it advertised on Facebook Marketplace by a gentleman who was saying his mother had given up driving and it had just been sitting for the past couple of months and it needed a new home. It was in my hometown. It was literally 2 or 3 streets down the road. And it was a one-owner car. One owner from new, his mum, who bought it at our local Evans Holshaw Ford garage, and the car had only covered 22,000 miles from new. Finished in this awesome green colour, which is what drew me to the car in the first place, the fact that it was green. It's the KA or Car or Ka collection model. That's the name of the model. Absolutely no idea. And before you ask, yes, I'm going to show you around the fuel filler cap, and yes, I'm going to show you around the rear wiper. It had been really well looked after. Minor things on the MOT, and if you know about these cars, they suffer with rot. And stay tuned to the end to find out some devastating news that I found out quite recently about the car. Anyway, we'll take a look then at the rear wiper first. As you can see, we are having a look around the car, and it was starting to bleb around that rear wiper. I don't know why. I'm guessing water just gets in around the grommet. But it was a beautiful little car inside and out, and for 600 quid on the road a couple of years ago, I just had to have it. This let it down. This is, in my opinion, the only thing that let this car down. And I've seen people, as I was pointing out there, with blebs around the fuel filler cap that are, bigger than their hands. There is a repair patch. And actually, with something like this, you could have probably ground it back, treated it, filled it, and sprayed it, and it would have been a beautiful car. Would it have ever been a show winner? Well, at 22,000 miles and quite rare in this green colour, maybe. As you can see, I've got Christmas lights up on the bush there because, well, I actually bought the car on New Year's Day. I have a habit for doing this. Oh, door shut cam. I think you can genuinely tell the life of a car by looking at the door shuts, and looking at the door shuts in there, nice and clean. I hadn't cleaned the car at this stage. This is as I bought it, and it had, I believe, been washed because it had been stood for a couple of months. 3-door then. Inside you've got the folding seats, and the interior was in fantastic condition. Look at this wonderful little centre console, and they're a good fun little bubble car, and the Ford KAs are the sort of thing that you are struggling to see on the road nowadays. When I spot one, I always point them out to Mrs. John Coupland. The interior design in here, you either love it or you hate it, and I thought it was a great place to be. Original driver's floor mats. It was a budget car. It was a no-frill sort of thing. It didn't have the heated front windscreen as some models do, which, if you are familiar with Fords of this era, you know is quite a funky little thing. There it is then, 22,452 miles. It's a good little thing. More internal door shot cams. There's the interior. Let's take a look in the boot, because you can always tell by the boot how the car has been looked after. Oh, guess what's in the boot? Well, a brand new set of floor mats. And look at this luggage net that was in there. Strut tops and suspension top mounts not damaged, not rusty. And let's take a look at the boot floor, because you can get water in here, can't you? Not a patch of rust. A very good car. And actually, watching this back, if you haven't seen the original video, go and check it out. The link is in the description of me having a good look round. It's early days of the channel, but I'm wishing I didn't sell this one, and we'll talk about why at the end. Under the engine then, if you haven't popped the bonnet on a Ford KA, it's under the steering column, and it took me ages to find out where that was. In fact, I had to look in the books. Under the engine bay, it was as clean as it was on the outside, meaning that I don't think it was hiding any sins. It did sound wonderful. If you want to hear the engine start up and hear me run the car, again, check out the original video. Some damage around the car. We've got that damage around the fuel filler, that rust, and there was a couple of dents in the passenger side door. One of the wheel trims also was scuffed. Why did I buy this car? Well, I bought it with a view of adding it to the collection. I took it to Dad. Dad thought it was brilliant, and at that time Mum was looking for a new car as well. She wanted to upgrade her Vauxhall Corsa C prior to buying her Hyundai. However, it didn't fit her needs, but for £600 I genuinely couldn't have turned it down, and I would have hated it to have gone to somebody who was going to trash the car, because it really was a little survivor. I decided to sell it. In fact, I put it up for sale the next day at a reasonable price of £1,200, and somebody snapped my hand off straight away and said, "John, here's the £1,200. I'm a Ford collector. I'm going to put it in my dealership, and I'm going to repair all the rust and have it as part of a collection." He lied to me. Shock horror, he wanted a cheap and cheerful car, because he went and proceeded to put 7,000 miles on the car in the space of about 6 months. And then it catastrophically failed on underside rust, suspension rust, body rust in October 22, which really baffled me, because Dad and I had a good look at the car, and, well, it was nice and solid under there, which goes to show that by hammering the car 7,000 miles for a winter and using it, don't shout at me for using a car, it went and killed this little Ford KA. Anyway, it would have been lovely in the collection, but I probably would have flipped it anyway. I made £600 on it in the space of a couple of days, and it's funded more things in the Coupland collection. What do you reckon? Should I have kept this one, or did I do the right thing? And when did you last see a Ford KA? Ford car. That's what was behind door number 11, ladies and gentlemen. More cars coming on the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already done so, comment down below. What did you reckon? Was it one that I was right to get shot of, or should I have kept it? And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Till next time, have a great day. Thanks for watching. See ya. Is behind door number 10 on the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas Spectacular. I hope you're enjoying this little mini-series so far, with archive footage and chat about cars that have come and gone. Number 12 shocked a few people. Number 11, it came and went. But what is behind door number 10? Let's find out. I bet you didn't see that coming, did you? Behind door number 10. It is a Jag, or Jag, however you want to say it. It's actually a Jaguar S-Type 2001 plate pre-facelift. I think they did a facelift in 2002 and again in 2004. In my opinion, the best version of the Jaguar S-Type, and a good year to buy. It is the 3.1 litre petrol V6 edition, finished in this beautiful, I don't know, British racing green metallic, jewel green. And the oh, you can see the inspector there. This might even be the first appearance of the inspector on the channel when I bought this car and made this video. Anyway, how did it happen? I saw it for sale on Car and Classic one evening. I was driving around in an L-Reg Proton in beige, which may or may not feature on this list at some point, and I saw it for sale, and it was quite local, about 30 miles away from home, and went to look at it that night. And the story behind it was it belonged to the chap's neighbour, who had sadly passed away, and I think he'd bought it from the family. Decided that he wanted to try and run it, and the upkeep costs were far too much for him and his family. It'd been off the road for a couple of months and needed a few bits doing, and he was keen to make sure it went to a good home. He'd got it advertised for £1,200, and I went to have a look round it on the night, as I say, and it needed a little bit of TLC. There was some lacquer peel by one of the door frames on the driver's side. I think that's probably where the chap had been getting in and out. It needed some interior trim, and it needed a new battery and a few bits of paint here and there. I think there was a knock in the back bumper as well. Call a spade a spade. I had a good chat with the chap, told him who I was, what I wanted to do with it, and I think I bought it for £800. Picked it up the next day and drove it home. There was a little bit of an issue when running. Oh, there's that knock in the back bumper. Look, you can see it there. In the under load at low speed, there was a bit of a misfire, which did and didn't put me off. But at that point, I was driving it home. So I had to not panic and hope for the best. I think it needed a good clear out. And actually, once you got down the road and once you got up to speed and it warmed up, it did clear that fault. Could have been an injector, could have been something else, a fueling issue. Thankfully, it didn't play up for long. So what did I do with the car then? Well, I got it home, I cleaned it, and in a minute we'll have a look in the interior. The interior, by the way, is finished in oatmeal, and it had all, there's that lacquer peel that you can see just on that back rear quarter. But it didn't detract too much from the car. So what did I do with it? Well, I ran it for a couple of months. I fetched and carried Mrs. John Coupland in it. I took it to work a few times. But ultimately realised that the same for me. The upkeep costs and the driving and the taxing and the fueling of it is what was going to cost me money. To put it into perspective, I took some friends, Mrs. John Coupland and a few friends, to Alton Towers for a day in the car. Filled it up. I think it cost me £119 to fill up, and I was empty by the time I got home. So it cost me over £100 in fuel to get to Alton Towers and back of a day, and that's only, a 2.5 hour journey there and 2.5 hours back. And to put that into perspective, before that I was driving my 1.6 litre Audi A4 B5, and I could get to Alton Towers and back in less than half a tank of petrol. So it was very thirsty. And look at that beautiful interior, a very, very good spec in here. And you can see that someone had cut out the cup holder. They'd actually had previously like a Jaguar pocket watch in there, which was interesting. There was a bit of wear to that centre bolster. I did manage to find one of those flip top covers, and it was quite expensive. It was a few pounds, maybe £30 or £40. The sat navy thing, by the way, didn't work. So when I bought it, it had about 98,000 miles on the clock, lots of service history, a little bit of damp around the sunroof and on the A-pillar trims, as you can see. But overall, interior was good condition, and it drove well apart from that little bit of a lag, a little bit of a misfire under load, sometimes between 1 and 2. So 98,000 miles bought the car on, and you can see that from MOT history, if you look at the MOT history, it had some work done before I bought it, and the MOT history was mainly things like anti-roll bar links and number plates and lights, etc. But everything seemed to go well. But I had decided, after the fact that it was going to cost me hundreds of pounds to upkeep, that the best thing to do was to try and sell it and get a little bit of money back on it. I advertised it for sale for £1,200 back on Facebook Marketplace and on Car and Classic. And a chap locally to me decided that he wanted it. He was a Jaguar enthusiast. He actually was based near RAF Coningsby, where the Lancaster and the Spitfires are, if you know your Lincolnshire. And he'd got an S-Type, similar sort of era, so he knew the cars inside and out. He took it for a spin. I explained the situation with the misfire under load, or the lag under load, and he didn't seem bothered by that. And he paid me the asking price, full £1,200. I did fit a new battery. That cost me £100 and did a little bit of work to it, which cost me 50 or 60 quid. And I obviously included that piece of trim as well. Looking at the history of the car then, well, he used it. He used the car. He put 3,000 miles on it. And then it ran out of MOT in August 2023 at 101,390 miles and hasn't been MOT'd since. You don't see these anymore. They are fast disappearing off our roads, but it's one I don't miss. It's one I'm glad I didn't catch a cold on, and I can say I've scratched that itch. I've owned a Jaguar. Sadly, never again, because I don't think I can afford to run one. What do you reckon? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Plenty more cars coming on the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already done so, comment down below. What did you reckon? Was it one that I was right to get shot of, or should I have kept it? And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Till next time, have a great day. Thanks for watching. See ya. Day 9 of John Coupland Cars, counting down to Christmas. Every single day, right up until Christmas, a different car that has come and gone from the collection. In this video, we're going to take a look at something which I genuinely wish I hadn't sold. Of course, I couldn't have done this countdown without featuring a Proton Saga. This one, a 1993 Proton 1.3 GE. If you're watching in Malaysia, it's an Iswara, the facelift edition, and it's the 1.3 GE with the Magma engine 12 valve. That's for those of you in Malaysia. Take a look at it. Look at it. Isn't it beautiful in its sort of emerald green colour and red stripes? This car is the lowest of the low. Base spec model. It's the cheapest Proton you could have bought in the UK in 1993. I saw this for sale on the Proton Owners Group Facebook group back in 2022, early on, and it had belonged to a gentleman called John Knight. He'd sadly passed away, and he lived in Cardiff, in Wales, so the car was literally the other side of the country. A chap who was not John Knight, who had picked it up quite cheap and cheerfully in the housing sale, had put it up for sale on the Proton Group for £1,200 and advertised it with some pretty poor photographs, to be honest with you. Oh, there's Dad having a look at it. I went and picked the car up. I got a train all the way to Cardiff, and actually on the way there I got offered a new job role, so it was a hectic day. I got there and, well, it didn't look as good as described, and it wasn't as perfect as I was told by the owner. As you can see, there was some marks and scuffs down the side, and it had been brush painted on this wing, but I had to have it because, well, I needed a car to get home. I wasn't going to do another 8 hours train journey to get home. Oh, there's me fitting some bits and pieces to the car. This video footage is after Dad and I did some work. My intention then was to keep the car. I drove it home, and the drive home was wonderful. The car had covered less than 18,000 miles from new. It was a one-owner car, and Dad and I did a lot of work on it to get it up to my standards. As you know, I love my Protons. This one would have been the 4th in the collection at the time. Currently owning the Black Knight, Jeff. I had an L-Reg Bronze Proton, and then I'd bought this one as well to add to the collection, being the GE model. Base spec. Radio, blanking plates. There was no radio, no aerial, no near side mirror, so no passenger mirror, and it really was proper base spec. It would have been about £6,800 when it was brand new, and it was in relatively good condition by the time we finished with it, and I added my finishing touches to the car. Oh, I'm just looking at it now and I'm regretting selling it, because genuinely this is one that I should have kept in my collection. But good news is it's got a good story, and you'll find out at the end of the video where it is and what is happening with it. So I kept the car for a little while. Dad and I did lots of work to it. We restored items that just need a little bit of fettling. Not restored, fettling I think is the right term. We wax oiled all underneath the car, and you'll see in a minute the engine bay was absolutely perfect. We fixed some issues with the leaky lights, and I restored all the stickers that were missing from the car, because every single one of them had been removed. Shout out to Rover Joe, who replicated them for me, and Dave from DMB Graphics, who printed them for me, and including installing the original RAC tax disc holder, which shares its roots with a Renault, and a replica tax disc too. So I drove the car home, over 300 miles, and it was a wonderful journey home. In fact, it was a classic car show on at the NEC on the way, and as I passed the Birmingham NEC, I thought I could just nip in with this. I could just drive it in. I think Steph and Ian and Matt from Furious Driving were having their own display. I think Steph's Proton was on display. I replicated the Philog Garage dealer sticker, because the car was produced and sold by Philog Garage, and there's a little cheeky guaranteed till the year 2000 sticker I added as well. Should have been on a 1996 car, that one, beg your pardon, sorry, 1994 car, but I did put it on my 1993 because Protons did come with a 6-year warranty. You can see that is the original air filter, and it was in fantastic condition. Look under this engine bay, look how shiny it is. Anyway, the car sat as part of my collection for quite some time, and it never really went anywhere, and it deserved to be enjoyed, it deserved to be loved. And somebody contacted me on Twitter saying they really liked the car, they really would like to purchase a Proton, and I've done such a good job with this one, could they buy it off me? So I paid £1,200 for this car. I spent lots and lots of time and effort getting it on the road, making a few videos of the car, and he offered me £1,200. I didn't break even. I lost a little bit of money on it, really, didn't I, with time and effort, but I let it go. And I do see it every now and again at the Festival of the Unexceptional. If you watch Sean on the driving channel, I forgot his driving channel name, Morsels and Motors, that's it. He's test driven this car, and the video is very popular, and the owner really does love it, and it's great to see. He piles all the family in. I think he gets his dad and everybody in the car, and he goes to the Festival of the Unexceptional. I'd buy it back in a heartbeat, to be honest with you, this one, because a GE is very rare on the UK's roads. The underside of this was perfect. Apart from that paintwork on the offside wing, it was a pretty decent car. I spent a lot of time and effort on it, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I saved it and it didn't get squished and it didn't go to the banger boys. Thankfully, it hasn't deteriorated and it's still being used, and it's in a loving collection, and it deserves to be used, and it would have possibly just sat as part of my collection because a lot of them don't come out and about now. And I've got plenty of other Protons that I've been working on the past couple of years, rehoming them. I'm like, I don't know, a lost orphanage for rehoming Protons here in the UK. I do genuinely regret selling this one. It wasn't about the money, but it has gone to a good home, and I'm glad that it's being enjoyed, and I still get to see it at shows. Hopefully, John Knight, we've done it proud. We've looked after him. He's looked after the car, and after all this time, it's still going strong and being looked after. But it's a bittersweet one, this one, because I would have liked to have kept it. What do you reckon? Should I have kept it? Or did I do the right thing finding it a new home? Let me know in the comments down below. There you have it then, another peek at another car from the Coupland collection on our 12 days to Christmas countdown. Another one is coming tomorrow, and we are counting down until the big day. If you've enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Comment down below, what did you reckon? Should I have kept it, or did I do the right thing with it? Legends, welcome back to the channel. We're inching closer to Christmas and we're about to open door number 8 of the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas Advent Calendar Spectacular. Insert tinsel and fireworks here. I hope you're enjoying this little mini series. If you are, comment down below. What would you like to see behind some of the next doors? You'll be surprised at what we've got coming, but in this video, door number 8, please. Behind the door then is this. It's a car that I bought initially for Mrs. John Coupland to have as a little summer toy. What is it? Well, it's a 1999 MGF. Look at it. It's finished in a Morello red paint, which is a flip between pink and purple and aubergine. Very rare. The paint code CMV if you want to paint your car the same colour. One of only 260 ever painted in this colour, which is, I won't lie, what drew me to the car in the first place. It's a 1.8 litre VVC K series engine underneath the, well, not the bonnet, at the back there, because as you know, if you know about these cars, if you don't, they are mid-engine. So, this one is a bittersweet one for me because this is a car that is the only car I've really lost a significant amount of money on, and I regret buying, and I let my heart rule my head on the day. So I saw it for sale on Facebook Marketplace and it looked beautiful. It had got about 99,000 miles on the clock, and being a car from 1999, that was very good, very acceptable, and it was advertised for £2,500. I went in blind. I really didn't know anything about these cars, which is my first mistake, and lots of people will be shouting at me in the comments. And I went to look at it locally. It was about 30 miles away. I spoke to the chap. He'd bought it for his wife. They'd had a lovely time out in it with no mechanical issues, and they'd bought it from a MG specialist in Lincolnshire. We had a bit of a chat, and I actually paid £2,200 for the car. So he wasn't budging too much, which I understand because it cost a lot of money. And I brought it home to Mrs. John Coupland and got it home, and I didn't really look very well because mechanically very sound, bodywork very sound, but for a car that was, 25, 27 years old, it had every single panel dented. It was cosmetically very bad. It needed a lot of TLC from the dent person, and the interior was starting to show signs of it being damp as well. Again, I let my heart rule my head here. I shouldn't have bought this car. Should not have bought this car. But I wanted to surprise Mrs. John Coupland with a summer toy. I thought, aha, she's going to love this. It's a pinky purple sports car. And, well, she didn't. She absolutely hated it. I brought it home. She loved the colour. She thought it was lovely, but she hated the styling. And we took it for a drive. You'll see a photograph of her in a minute taking it for a drive. And she hated it. She absolutely hated it. I thought it drove really nicely, and it did drive fantastically. I can't say bad things about the drive. I can say bad things about the condition of the car and the fact that I'm a bit grumpy because, well, I lost a lot of money. What did I do with the car? Well, we'll have a look round first, but if you do know about these cars, you'll know that it was due a timing belt change and due a little bit of TLC. I took it to Dad, and Dad went, absolutely no chance, mate. I'm not getting involved in that again. Because the engine, as you can see here, is at the back, and you've got to take the soft top forward and flip it forward, and it's just an absolute nightmare to work on. So I let the car stand. Mrs. John Coupland took it for a spin once. She hated it. I took it for a spin a couple of times. I'm a big guy. It wasn't really comfortable for me to drive. And I was conscious that, to me, at the time, £2,200 was quite a significant amount of money because I'd spent my profits and my earnings from the previous two vehicles, the Proton and the Jaguar, on this. That's what I was doing at the time. I was, wheeler-dealer trade-upping. Under the bonnet, somebody had fitted these god-awful stainless steel washer things. Why on earth would you do that? Look at them all. There's about 40 of them. but it was in good condition, had been looked after under there. The gentleman I bought it from, by the way, really honest. He said, look, I'm not a car expert. We get in and drive it. It's been serviced. Here's the documentation. Have a look. So it's my fault that I caught a cold with this one. So I let it stand. I realised that I had to try and get some sort of money back from it. So I waited until a little bit closer towards the springtime, and I advertised it for sale for what I thought it was worth, which was £2,495. I then started getting lots of people contact me saying, mate, it's not worth anywhere near that. In its condition, X, Y, and Z. Had an expert come and have a look at it who wanted to buy it as part of a collection. He knew the car and he gave me some honest advice. In the end, a trader contacted me and he said, look, I'm a trader. I can see you trying to get rid of it. 1,600 quid. I was like, yep. Fine, not a problem. That's absolutely fine. Take it out my way, because at that point I was a bit like I'm stuck with an albatross around my neck. So I lost 600 quid. Yeah, which it is what it is. You can't win them all. To some, £600 is a lot of money. To me, £600 at the time was a lot of money. But the plot thickens. Oh, there's Mrs. John Coupland taking it for a spin. Look at her smiley face. Doesn't she look impressed with the car? No, she does not. Look, that's the I hate this car face. Anyway, what happened to it after that? So I sold it to a trader who put it up for auction at a very well-known auction house in Yorkshire. In fact, we'll see a video from them there. It was sold again in June 2022 by Matthewson's for £800. It went through auction at 800 quid. So clearly they lost on it as well. It's still taxed, but it is now out of MOT. The MOT expired on the 28th of November 2024, but taxed until January 25, so hopefully it's still being used and loved by somebody, and it's now covered 99,280 miles. I'm glad I sold this one. I lost money, but you can't win them all. Another peek at another car from the Coupland collection on our 12 days to Christmas countdown. Another one is coming tomorrow and we are counting down until the big day. If you've enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Comment down below, what did you reckon? Should I have kept it or did I do the right thing with it? With just a week to go until Christmas, it's time to open door number 7 on the John Coupland Cars Advent Calendar Christmas Countdown Spectacular of cars that have come and gone in the collection the past few years. I genuinely hope you're enjoying this mini-series. What is behind door number 7? Well, it could only be this, couldn't it? Yes, look at it. It's a Suzuki Swift, but before we get into the nitty-gritty about this, I'm actually recording this video this morning in hiding. Yes, I'm in my secret underground bunker, hiding from the MGF Owners Club, because I said hurty words yesterday about the MGF, and they don't like it. I can only apologise that I bought a terrible car, but yeah, I think if I was in public today, I would be strung up by the MGF club. Anyway, let's move on to something that's behind door number 7, which is a little bit better. It's this, a Suzuki Swift 2009. You know the story, don't you? You take the dog for a dog walk, you see a car for sale, you buy the car, you put the dog in the back and you drive it home, cutting your dog walk short. No, never happened to anyone else? Well, that is what happened with this one. I was taking the inspector for an evening walk around about Christmas time, around this sort of time of year, and I saw it for sale. It was at the end of someone's drive, a little plank of wood leant up against it, and it said Suzuki Swift. I think it was £1,500, and that was it. So I knocked on the door, and I did the cardinal sin. I bought a car in the dark without giving it too much of a looking at, because I'd got Crystal barking at the same time. Thankfully, it all paid off, and it's a good story, this one, and stay tuned to the end to find out what happened to the car. Anyway, so saw the car for sale, spoke to the elderly gentleman. It was his wife's. She'd given up driving due to health reasons. They'd had it a few years, and full disclosure, I didn't realise at the time when I looked at it that it was actually a Cat S structural write-off. Nothing to do with any sort of accident it had been in, but due to the fact that it had the steering rack replaced due to it basically falling apart. Anyway, I paid £1,200 for it in the dark, and I drove it home, put Crystal in the kitchen, and then drove it round to Dad's. It had good MOT history, it looked good, it was nice and solid, sounded good, at 1.3 litre engine. Not the base spec, but not top spec, no aircon, nothing like that. The GL model, as we say. But yeah, needed minimal work to get it roadworthy and to make it safe. My intention at the time was my cousin was starting to drive and she wanted a cheap and cheerful car. I saw it, £1,200. I thought that is a bargain, even if she doesn't have it, I can sell it or keep it as part of the collection, whatever. I was toying with using it as a daily driver at one point. So I took it around to Dad's and we did some work on it. We fitted new discs, we fitted new pads, new service items, oil and filter change. We checked the spark plugs. We gave it a good old clean and got it on the road. The steering wheel, you could tell that it had been structurally written off. The steering wheel didn't automatically auto-center all the time. And I didn't realise that until I was actually driving the car after buying it, because on a test drive you don't get to know these things, do you, until you really start to take them for a spin and do a fair few miles in it. But it didn't matter, it wasn't dangerous, it wasn't going to fail an MOT like that, but it was just something I wanted to disclose to the new owners when they bought it. Anyway, so what happened with it? Well, it sat as part of my collection. I filmed a couple of videos and they are on the channel. Oh, there's my fat face. And what did it have when I bought it? I think it was like 80-something thousand miles. There you go, 81,905 miles. Barely run in for a 15-year-old car at the time. Oh, there's the engine bay. Look, there's that lovely Suzuki engine. Little engine, quiet little car. Nippy, pokey. If you've never driven a sport version of one of these, oh, they're fun. And actually, the 1.3 litre hybrid model that I drove earlier this year didn't seem as exciting as this, but they've got a good reputation, the Suzuki Swift, and I've got nothing but good things to say about them. So it sat as part of my collection for a couple of months. I decided after Christmas that I was going to sell it. I was going to keep using the Purple Smart as my daily driver and look for something else. So let's give it a wash. It'd gone a bit green round the gills. There's my £35 Bosch pressure washer, which is doing really well. Shout out to Duncan for that one. There's that grille looking all shiny. So I gave it a good old clean and I advertised it for sale. Mrs. John Coupland liked this one too. It drove really nice. I think I even bought some proper Suzuki floor mats for it. They were really expensive, 60 odd quid for a set. So they went with it as well. But apart from spending sort of £100 on floor mats, discs and pads, new wiper blades, and just general giving it a good going over, what did the car cost me? £1,300. A good deal. Oh, there's it nice and shiny now. Look at that. Oh, I put the original wheel trims back on. That let the car down. The wheel trims were very scuffed. Oh, and there was a little bit of a knock on the back bumper that Dad and I had to repair. One of the clips had broken. I think the old lady had possibly clipped a wall or something. It hadn't damaged the paintwork, but it popped out. Oh, tea break time. There's the inspector. This is on the day that I'm getting it ready for sale, because do you know what I hate? When people put cars up for sale and they can't be bothered to clean them and hoover them out. You're never going to sell a car for top money like that. Anyway, I advertised it for sale on Facebook, and a young lad came with his dad. They'd had 3 or 4 of these. He was looking for a car to replace his BMW, and it sold literally almost immediately for £1,500. I think it was for sale for 2 hours on Facebook Marketplace before they came and bought it. It's good news with this one, a good story. It's still in daily use. It's got MOT still until June 2025, and it's passed the last 4 MOTs, the past 4 years, with no advisories. It's clearly a good car for him. He's still got it by all accounts and purposes, and he's covered 11,000 miles in the car since I sold it. A success story, number 7. It could have stayed. I made a couple of £100 on it. It's a good car. It's still being used. And I'm happy about this one. It's one that I'm saying good things about. I love the colour too, by the way. Yeah. Suzuki Swift, would I have another one? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a more modern one. I would like to scratch the itch of having a sport version. What do you reckon? Did you enjoy this video? Should I have kept this Suzuki Swift and used it as a daily, or did I do the right thing, letting someone else get the use out of it? And are you happy that it's now still being used? We'll finish with another tea break. Join me tomorrow for another one. Plenty more cars coming on the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already done so, comment down below. What did you reckon? Was it one that I was right to get shot of, or should I have kept it? And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Till next time, have a great day. Thanks for watching. See ya. You'll not believe what is behind door number 6 in the John Coupland Cars Advent Calendar Countdown to Christmas Spectaculaire. And I hope you're enjoying this little mini-series that I've put together for you. Something to watch every day on the run-up to Christmas. What is behind door number 6 then? Let's find out. Okay, I've cheated a little bit, because behind door number 6 is 6 Proton Sagas. Oh yes. This video is going to be a little bit different in relation to the others. I will not be discussing what happened to the cars in full and giving you the full story, because, well, I think that deserves its own video, which is coming in the new year. But yes, if you don't already know, last year I bought 6 Proton Sagas, not one after the other, but a whole collection, 6 of them. A 1.5 SE, another 1.5 SE, another 1.5 SE, 2 1.5 SLs, and a 1.5 GL. Now, if you do follow what I do with my Protons on the channel, you will know probably what's happened to most of them anyway, and recognise a few of these cars. But if you don't, well, let's talk you through them. So we've just seen a green car, a 1.5 SE, and I think it was on about 60-odd thousand miles. Nothing wrong with that car apart from a little bit of rot around the back wheel arches. Top model, that, a 1.5 SE, a good car. And as like I say, a full video will be coming in the new year talking about what happened to those cars. Secondly, as part of the collection was this K324 NAB, a white Proton Saloon 1.5 SE, and if you know me, I've been after a white one of these for a long while. Spoiler alert, this car is still in my collection. We've done lots of work to it and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's done about 45,000 miles and I've done a couple of MOTs on it in my lifetime. It really is one of the pride and joy Protons in my collection, and actually in the summer I do daily it. I do take it to work. Looking at this then, what is it? Well, it's a 1.5 SL. It's in this lilac-y purple colour, and it'd been stored up in this garage for quite some time, 5 or 6 years off the road when I bought it. And we got it home. Again, that full video is on the channel, and it has been recommissioned. It's been lovingly restored, not by us. I moved it on to a chap who wanted one, and he bought it off me for a little bit of profit. Anyway, let's talk about the whole 6 collection then. So I paid £2,500 for all of them. All as a collection, that was the job. And actually I got a load of parts and bits and pieces as well with it. They belonged to a lady called Sarah, who was as much of a Proton nut as me. The issue with Sarah, though, is when one went wrong, she just parked it up and bought another one. They were cheap as chips a few years ago, a Proton. You could pick one up for £200 or £300, all in all good going. So no issues buying those. Some Wally on the internet decided it'd be a good idea to bring Proton into the forefront of the world. And so I've driven the price up really the past few years. And so £2,500 for all the cars. What's that? 5,152. About £300–400 a car, roughly, which I think is okay. This one, 1.5 SE, this one in silver, was actually Sarah's very first Proton, and you can see she's showing me some of the parts as well that came with the buy, including some wings and a bonnet and other sort of Proton spare parts along the way. This car, well, I said I wouldn't tell you what happened, but it has sadly been sent to the scrapyard, this one, but more on that in another video in the new year. Good car, but sadly needed far too much work to get it back on the road. It would have been absolutely uneconomical to get it back on the road. So Sarah contacted me and said, John, I've got all these cars, and I'd actually bought some parts off Sarah for Jeff, my 1.5 SE LE 5 or 6 years ago. So she knew about me, and she'd also got 2 more stashed away on a farm, including this one, a 1.5 SL in silver. You can see it's a later one, a P-Reg. In fact, there was 2 P-Regs as part of this collection, and there are some differences between the P-Regs and the ones previously, the 94, the 95 Regs, including more branded Proton stuff such as sunroofs and different seat belts. They just tried to update a few bits and pieces, but it didn't really do much good. There you are in there. This one been parked up for 5 or 6 years. I believe Sarah bought this one actually as a spare, in case one of hers did all of a sudden go pop. P34 HNC. What's in the boot? Well, apart from moisture, there was a Tefal thing in there. This video on the channel, a full video of me looking at this car quite recently actually. I think I said that I paid sort of 250 quid for this car, and it's true if I worked it out in comparison to what the others cost me and what I sold them for. And oh, there's a spoiler and what happened with them. The next one though, the car you're about to see, is the one that really took off on the channel and really helped 2024 be as big as it is. There it is. It's in a barn. You know when you see people advertise barn find cars and they're not actually in a barn? I got excited because that one was my local Proton dealership here in Boston. It was in a barn. And again, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the video of me jet washing this, go and check it out. I think it's had about 500,000 views. There's a horse in there as well with it. This one, a 1.5 SE Auto in silver. So, number 6, entry number 6, in the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas was a whole collection of 6 cars, 6 Protons, and I did cheat a little bit. I brought them home in stages. I didn't get all 6 of them here at the same time, which is a shame because that would have been awesome to get Mrs. John Coupland's face on camera when she rocked up at home and saw 6 Protons on the front lawn, but sadly not the case. I thought you might like seeing them, might knowing a little bit more about the backstory, and me just teasing the fact that there is going to be a whole series on these 6 cars in the next coming months. And if you have been following the channel, you know what happened to the white one. What could be behind door number 5? Well, we shall find out. Tomorrow is something totally different. If you are enjoying this series of me talking about some of the cars that have come and gone in the past couple of years, let me know in the comments down below. What do you reckon? 6 Proton Sagas, all saloons? Was I absolutely bonkers to buy all these? Or do you think $2.5 grand for 6 cars was a good deal? Let me know in the comments down below. 1.5 SE, 1.5 SE, 1.5 SL, 1.5 SL, 1.5 GL, and a 1.5 SE Auto. All mine. All purchased in the past 2 years. See you tomorrow. There you have it then, another peek at another car from the Coupland collection on our 12 days to Christmas countdown. Another one is coming tomorrow and we are counting down until the big day. If you've enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Comment down below, what did you reckon? Should I have kept it or did I do the right thing with it? 5 days to go until the big day. Yes, I'm starting to panic. Hello, you absolute legends. Welcome back to the channel. John here on a beautiful afternoon here in Lincolnshire. What is behind day 5 of the Advent calendar top Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas? Well, it could only be one thing, couldn't it? Yes, in this video on day 5, I've swapped 5 gold rings for 4 silver ones in the shape of this Audi TT. It's a Roadster edition, Mark 1. It's the 2003 model. And if you know your Audi TTs, this is the 180 brake horsepower edition. It's still got the 1.8 litre petrol 5-valve engine, but it's not got all the turbo, etc., bringing it up to 225 brake horsepower. I do have 2 other Audi TTs in my collection which are 225 brake horsepower, but this one, a nice bog standard mid-range, mid-release 180. It is as cheap as you could get it at the time, and we'll have a look in a minute inside and you'll see the cloth seats, but it really was a very nice low-spec Roadster car, and it drove wonderfully. Anyway, how did it come to be mine? There's the cloth seats. How did it come to be mine? Well, I was scrolling bored one afternoon on eBay looking at cars that were for sale locally to me that were ending soon. This was in Spalding, about 16 miles away from where I live, and it got £1,000 on the bidding with a few hours to go. I went and spoke to the gentleman on eBay Messenger and said, look, I'm in Boston, really interested in the car, it looks good, can I please come and have a look at it with a view of making a bid? Yes, was the answer, so I hightailed it across to Spalding and said, look, I really want it, it's got a couple of hours left, would you accept an offer of £1,200 and that's what I'll pay for it? If not, I'll bid and hopefully I'll get it a bit cheaper. And he was like, yeah, that's fine, not a problem, £1,200 and I'll take it off eBay. Belonged to his wife, who had been using it and had cherished it. In fact, that's the personalised number plate that was on the car, SEW, I think her name was Sarah. And he's like, well, that comes with the car. You can see at the moment, I'm showing you it came with a whole host of things, including the optional tonneau cover and a cover itself. So I drove it home. And in fact, no, I didn't drive it home. He drove it home, and then I drove him home. But it drove absolutely wonderfully, and I bought it with a view of it being for Mrs. John Coupland. If you remember the fiasco with the MGF, I've come out of hiding now, but she loves my Roadster 225, the purple one. It's very sentimental to me, and it's a bit fierce with the turbo, and I don't want it to get away with her and her end up putting it in a ditch. So I thought, well, I'll buy her one so she can enjoy it herself. Got it home. She loved it. What a brilliant car. And then the realisation set in that it was silver and not purple or pink or yellow or any funky colour. And actually, I'm not a major fan of silver cars. As you know, I like colourful cars. Purples, pinks, yellows, blues. So a silver car to me is what I would have in inverted commas as boring. So we drove it a little bit. I enjoyed it. I took it to work and back a few times. I was, as I say, used to driving a 225 Roadster and a 225 Coupe. It lacked power, in my opinion, but it was a fantastic example of a car. Honestly, it was an absolute eBay bargain, and I genuinely think you can pick a good one of these up now for £1,500. Now is the time to buy an Audi TT, in my opinion. I think they've held up really well. You're gonna get comments about, oh, are you a hairdresser? Are you this? Are you that? But look at it. Look at the styling of that, especially the coupe. And if you haven't seen the videos of me and my purple coupe, check it out. Really do check it out, because it is a blooming good car. And actually, I went to put my purple coupe up for sale earlier this year, and I ended up retracting the sale because so many people wanted to buy it straight away. And I realised that actually it's one I am going to keep in my collection for a little bit, because they are fast becoming an appreciating classic. They are one to buy. Maybe you disagree with me on that. Let me know in the comments down below. Everything worked on this car, by the way. Minimal damage, a few marks here and there, but the hood worked nicely. Electronic hood, wind deflector, All the aircon was really nice and cold. The stereo, because these do suffer with electrical gremlins, so to get one with no issues whatsoever and the tonneau being so good really was a good find. Genuinely, a car that I regret selling, but also would never have been used because, well, I'd got other toys to play with at the time, and Mrs. John Coupland didn't want to drive this one, and I would have actually probably begrudged her driving it because it would probably got damaged where she parks it to go to work. So I put it up for sale, and I had people chomping at the bit to come and buy it off me. In fact, a local chap who I know, who has looked at other cars that I've had for sale, came and had a look around it, shook my hand and said, yep, I absolutely want it. It's for my wife. I put it up for sale for £2,500, which was what I thought it was worth in this condition, market value, and sold it for £2,200. So made £1,000. So the money I lost on the MGF, well, I gained back on the Audi TT. I do think they're very good cars, genuinely. I think now is the time to buy one. I would love to find a 3.2 V6 and drive that and see how it feels differently. And one of my projects, one of my goals for summer 2025 is to get my purple TT Roadster out of the garage, recommissioned, polished up nicely and enjoyed. She's called Tilly and she belonged to a very good friend of mine. And I promised her that I would take very good care of it. So that is what I am doing. Anyway, the good news is the chap I sold it to, his wife has been enjoying it. It's still MOT'd. It's MOT'd until September 2025. It's had a couple of advisories purely for the headlights, which I think the MOT tester has been a little bit overzealous there. But him and his wife has put over 7,000 miles on the car in the past couple of years. So clearly they are enjoying it. What do you reckon? Was it worth selling to get the £1,000 out of it, or is it one that I should have saved as part of my collection? What do you reckon to the TT Mark 1? An appreciating classic or a hairdresser's car? Let me know in the comments down below. I should have kept this one probably if I'd got the space for it. But you can't win them all and you can't keep them all. There you have it then, another peek at another car from the Coupland collection on our 12 days to Christmas countdown. Another one is coming tomorrow and we are counting down until the big day. If you've enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Comment down below, what did you reckon? Should I have kept it or did I do the right thing with it? With 4 days to go, what is behind door number 4 on the John Coupland Cars Advent Calendar Countdown to Christmas? We're doing this little mini-series and lots of cars have come and gone, quite literally, because every single car you've seen so far has left the John Coupland Cars collection in the past few years. There's been some that I've looked back on and thought, actually, that was a really good car. In at number 4 then, what do you reckon to this? Quite possibly one, if not the rarest car that I'm going to feature on this countdown to Christmas. And if you're thinking, John, that's a Mazda 121, you would be right. If you're thinking it's a Ford Festiva, you would also be right. But this model that we're looking at, K175YPE, is actually a 1993 Kia Pride, the LX model, but badge engineered pretty much to be a Mazda 121 and a Ford Festiva. They share the same platform. This one, a 1.3 litre petrol edition, and at the time of me purchasing it, there was only 5 left on the UK's roads. If you know Jude Curry, if you know Chod Spot of London, then you will know this car. If you are a member of the Young Retro Motor Club, you will know this car. Jude is a young lad and he lives down Landon Town Way, and his side hustle before going to university was buying cars that he'd spotted. He's got a habit of spotting old cars and putting notes on them and then enjoying them and rescuing them and saving them, which is exactly what Jude did with this car. He bought it from an 83-year-old lady who was the original owner at the time. He put a note on it, and when she decided it was time to hang up her driving gloves, she gave Jude a call and he bought it. He had a big collection at the time, just like myself, and so sold it to a young lad who had it as his first car for a year. I I kept in contact with Jude because, well, he also had another Kia Pride and I admired them at the time, and he knew that I was into my weird and wacky with my Protons. Anyway, the owner of the car that Jude sold it to contacted me and basically said he was going to scrap the car because it needed some work before an MOT and he hadn't got the time or money to do it. So, with a day left on the MOT and armed with £250 on quite possibly the hottest day of 2021, Mrs. John Coupland and I drove the 3 hours down to South London and picked the car up, and I drove it back with 0 faults all the way home. So £250 I paid for the car, and it was genuinely destined for the scrapyard the next day. No false jeopardy. It was going to be a case of the MOT ran out the next day, and if I hadn't have bought it, the scrapman was going to come and pick the car up. I couldn't have that happen on a car that was so rare and such a beautiful example. Yes, as we've seen, there were some dents and some knocks and a little bit of rust, but everything was there. No trim missing, no badges missing, all the documentation, and we'll see in a minute, even the white wall spare was in the boot, along with the toolkit and electrical books, etc., etc. It needed some TLC, and at the time, I thought I am going to be the person to give this some TLC. Anyway, I got it home, made a few videos about it, and you can see those on the channel, and the originals are in the description. And you can see the car is a lovely little survivor. It hadn't been molested or messed about with or damaged to the point where, well, it's had new tyres in its life, and that was about it. 68,932 miles on the clock when I finally got it home, and after making sure that it was all okay and giving it a good old clean and a polish and a little bit of fettling, new dealer sticker, etc., it stayed at my house just behind my garage off the road for probably a good 6 to 8 months. I didn't know where to start with it. I'd got so many projects on the go, including the building of my brand new garage. So I replaced things, as you can see, such as the wobbly lights, etc., but decided that it was time to let it go after about 8 months. It sat going green, and I put it on Car and Classic because I wanted the car to go to somebody who was an enthusiast of the car. There's the engine bay. There's that 1.3 litre petrol engine. You can see under there it's had a new battery at some point. And look at that. You've still got the Kia sticker on the air filter, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Anyway, I put it up for sale on Car and Classic. The MOT had run out. It was sold as a project. And I sold it to a chap who came and picked it up on a trailer for £600. So it has had a few changes of ownership in the past few years, people trying to get it back on the road and back to show-worthy condition. The chap I sold it to, I believe, sold it to a young lad who did lots of work on it, including upgrading all the suspension, cleaning all the suspension, replacing things like track rod ends, etc., etc. And then a couple of years ago decided that he'd had enough. He'd had enough of the car. It needed some body work, and so sold it for a quite cheap price. I don't know the exact price, but it was taxed, it was insured, and it was MOT'd, and I believe it was about 600 to £800. It was an absolute bargain. It was bought by a young man called Jack Jesse, and if you are in the Young Retro Motor Club, you will have seen this car. It's been on display at the NEC. He's done some very tasteful modifications to the car, upgrading it. It's got a square number plate on the front now, and he's just, I don't know, Jap-spec'd it a little bit, but nothing that has ruined the car. He's given it a good old clean, a good old polish, and he's enjoyed it to the point where he's put around about 8,000 miles on the clock. It's still MOT'd, it's still taxed, and it's still insured, and it's still in the ownership of Jack, who, as I say, started the Young Retro Motor Club on Facebook in 2014. There's one of the original white wall tyres. How cool is that? And it was a shame that I couldn't get replacement white walls for all the way around the car, because that would have really made it pop. If I was to have kept it, that would have been my mission. But yeah, MOT'd until 2025. Loved, cherished, taken to shows, and considering that this car literally was destined to be squished beyond recognition, such a rare car. I haven't checked today how many are left on the roads, but one of 5 sort of 5 years ago, so there's going to be less now, isn't there? And there it is, the lovely little Kia Pride LX, Mazda 121, Ford Festiva. And many people, when I put my video on the channel, had good memories of these and said they were blooming good little cars and that you literally do not see them anymore. I genuinely think, should this have been restored to concours condition, it would have been a festival of the unexceptional contender for either this year or next year. Anyway, I didn't lose money on it. I got to make some videos on it, and I got to keep it on the road. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think? Should I have kept this car, or did I do the right thing moving it on? Have you seen it in the metal? Do you know Jack? Do you know Jude? Have you seen it? Let me know. What's tomorrow? Well, we'll see you tomorrow for that one. Plenty more cars coming on the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already done so, comment down below. What did you reckon? Was it one that I was right to get shot of, or should I have kept it? And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Till next time, have a great day. Thanks for watching. See ya. 3 days to go in the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas, I don't know, advent calendar of terrible car purchases. Hello, you absolute legends. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're enjoying this mini-series so far, with just 3 days to go until we reveal my #1 car that I've had in the past 2 or 3 years that I really wish I hadn't sold. What today is behind door number 3? Let's find out. It was close to being behind door number 2, but it was just pipped to the post. And you'll find out tomorrow what door number 2 is. But behind number 3 then is this. Look at it. It's a 2003 facelift MR2 Toyota Mark III. It's the 1.8 litre VVTi 16 valve engine edition. This being the Roadster. 6-speed gearbox. In fact, I think they all were. But it's the soft top edition, 1.8 litre VVTi Toyota MR2 Mark III. And if you are aware of what is in my collection, I already have a Toyota MR2 Mark 1A. Quite an early one. In fact, one of the earliest, if not the earliest, still registered in the UK. And when this popped up for sale on Facebook Marketplace, I had to buy it. It sadly has quite a sad backstory behind it, and I didn't realise at the time when I organised to view it, but it belonged to an old school friend of mine who had sadly passed away. It was his wife selling the car. He'd bought it. It was his pride and joy, and it had been off the road for around about a year or so since his passing. They let the MOT lapse, and it had just sat under a cover, and she decided it was time to let it go. And when I saw it on Facebook Marketplace, I contacted her and his father, and they were glad that it was going to an enthusiast that was going to get it back on the road and find it a loving home. So when I bought it, it had been off the road for a year, but was a low mileage example, 41,694 miles from new. And because this is the Coupland cars that have come and gone, well, it has been sold. But we'll talk about that in a minute, because Dad and I did some work on the car to get it back up to scratch. I paid a fair price for it, for a car that had been sat with no MOT. £2,000 I paid for it. There was no argument on the price. I thought it was a great example, and for what it needed doing, I was not going to haggle at all in any way, shape or form. I was happy to pay that money and it go to this lad's family. There it is. You can see underneath, no rust, no rot. The hood was in great condition. And the interior, which we'll see in just a minute, was also in fantastic condition. An absolutely unmolested example of one of these is getting hard to find. Yes, it has aftermarket wheels on, but actually I found a set of wheels, genuine, brand new, local to where I live, and I paid £100 for them to have as part of the car, because when I bought it, my intention was to keep it as part of my collection, and we'll talk about why I didn't in just a minute's time. But as you can see, it's in fantastic condition, and these are really hard to find where they've not been mucked about with, i.e. not had stupid interior modifications or any sort of exterior modifications, and putting a set of wheels on it was not a hardship. They were about an hour away from where we are in Kings Lynn, but you can see from the interior it really is a very good example, and such a low mileage example I had to have. Work we did on the car then, well, it was not MOT ready when I bought it. It needed the exhaust repairing. It was blowing. If you look at the MOT history, it had that for a couple of years, and the flexi had finally failed. Dad and I repaired that, and because it had been stood, it needed some TLC in regards to the brakes needed stripping and the handbrake needed servicing as well. But apart from that, well, just putting a new battery on it and jumping it off, it needed very little. And you can see from the interior, having a look, that the driver's bolster was also in fantastic condition. When I went to MOT it, funny story, I had to cancel my original MOT because when I bought the car, it only came with one key. I left it on the side, and we'd just got a new cat, a ragdoll cat called Mop. And long story short, I went to take the car for an MOT, went to take it to Neil's one morning. Could I find the key? No. Where had the key gone? Mrs. John Coupland was adamant she'd put it away in the key box. I was adamant that I'd put it away in the key box. And it was gone. I looked under everything because I'd come to the conclusion that it had probably been knocked off the side by the cat, and looked absolutely everywhere. Spent a whole day panicking, called the team at the DG Automotive to get me a new key done, and it was going to cost me 500 quid. And in the end, Dad and I managed to find the key. It was right under the fridge. So the cat didn't get any treats that night, but we took it for an MOT and it passed with flying colours. I realised that this was a car that needed to be kept under cover, and so I didn't have the ability to store it under cover or in the garage, and so popped the car up for sale, and I sold it to a chap in Northern Ireland who is still enjoying the car. He bought the wheels off me as well, and I sold it for £4,500, and he decided to buy it just from watching the videos on the channel. So £2,500 effectively made on the car. One of the biggest profits I've ever made. It wasn't about making a profit, it was about it going to the right home, but that's what it was worth once we'd done the work on it. And I did take a bit of a gamble at £2,000, and we did quite a bit of work getting it onto the road. It's still MOT'd. It's MOT'd until October 2025, and it's now done 45,911 miles. So it's done, what, 6,000 miles since we sold it, and it's on the road, still with the owner that I sold it to, still being loved. In fact, I keep up to date with him, and he's really enjoying the car. He's got the proper wheels on the car now. This is one I probably should have kept for the price I paid. It is a fast appreciating, rare modern classic, two-seater though, and I've got lots of two-seaters in my collection. And as you know, grey and silver cars, not necessarily my sort of thing. If it was green, that bright green colour that you get, maybe I would have kept it. Let me know in the comments down below. To earn £2,500, was it worth it? Are you happy that it's gone to a good home? Or is this one I should have kept? Let me know in the comments down below. What could be at number 2? We'll find out tomorrow. You'll be surprised with number 1, but I'm glad I scratched that itch and had a Mark III Toyota MR2. Genuinely glad that it's gone to a good home. And, well, the money I lost on the MG, I've made back, haven't I, with this wonderful Japanese car. Moral of the story, know what you're looking at. Thanks for watching. Plenty more cars coming on the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already done so, comment down below. What did you reckon? Was it one that I was right to get shot of, or should I have kept it? And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Till next time, have a great day. Thanks for watching. See ya. So far, 10 cars have come and gone in the John Coupland Cars Advent Calendar Countdown to Christmas of previous cars that have been in the collection. We've discussed a lot of them and their fate and what they're doing now. We've discussed financial mistakes, we've discussed things that I genuinely regretted selling and things that I thought I would never own. What's in at number 2 then, with tomorrow being the big reveal, and I think you're going to love it. Let's take a look at one that was just pipped to the post. In at number 2 on the Advent Calendar Countdown of cars. You're going to like this one. At least I hope you're going to like this one. Of course, it's another Proton, and considering I've bought probably, 11 in the past 4 years, there were always going to be more Protons featured on this countdown. Wow, what a beauty there in beige. I actually used to call it the Bronze Pig. It's a 1993 Proton 1.3 GLS. Again, a saloon. Have you noticed that I'm a big sucker for a saloon Proton? Never really featured an aeroback on the channel, and that is because, well, I don't like them. This one supplied new by Homeward Motors down south, and it popped up for sale on the Proton Owners Club Facebook page, and at the time I'd had a couple of Protons in my collection. This was the third Proton I added to my collection. Bought it from a guy called Tom, who bought it from the son of the original owner as a stopgap car. He wanted a cheap runaround. His car had broken and he wanted something cheap and cheerful at the time. I paid Tom £600 for the car, which he thought was a fair deal, and he actually drove it here. He drove the car all the way up from London to my house, put it in the garage, to which Mrs. John Coupland spotted it on our CCTV and wasn't too impressed. And then I drove Tom back down to London in the purple Smart with this car safely in the garage. And when I got it, in fairness to Tom, it had been used as a car. He hadn't kept on top of it as a collector's piece because he's not a Proton collector, and it was a little bit of a bin inside, and Tom smoked like a chimney. He'll forgive me for saying this, but the car stunk. It needed a lot of TLC, and I don't think it had been ever given a good old wash when I purchased it. It was still green around the gills from the original owner. I found photographs on Flickr of car spotters that had spotted it down in London. 41,959 miles delivered to me, and I was the third owner. Lots of work that I did on the car. Mechanically, it didn't need anything. It was very good. Cosmetically, it needed a lot of TLC. We gave those seats a very good scrub. You should have seen the amount of stuff that came out of them. Gave it a good old polish, gave it a good old clean. Replicated stickers, refitted original Proton floor mats. And we'll see some of those original stickers in just a minute's time that I replicated, thanks to Rover Joe and the team at DMB Graphics. There's the original number plate. It was in very good condition. Oh, crikey, look at that Proton badge. I forgot about that. I'd bought that as well and dumped it in the boot. It's perfect size for a dealer sign. Anyway, the car was a great addition and a great addition to my collection. I spent the whole afternoon painting those badges with a little tiny paintbrush and some acrylic paint. I fitted the OEM wheel trims, replaced those stickers that you can see, and put it and had it as part of my collection. I used it for a year, maybe a year and a half, and decided that I wanted to get something else for my collection, raise a bit of funds, and put it up for sale on Car and Classic, and sold it. Advertised it for £1,500 as a collector's item. Steph from My Driver Classic had at that point bought hers and raised the pinnacle of Proton. More people were talking about it. I'd won the Festival of the Unexceptional with my Black Knight, and people were talking about Proton, and so I thought for a car with such low mileage that was getting rare, £1,500 was fair. A young lad called Jack saw the car for sale. He was a content creator based in Norfolk, came and drove it with his mum, really nice guy, and he wanted to buy it. And I saw a little bit of myself in him, and I said to him, look, you are the right person for this car. I'm actually not here to be greedy. I'll let you have it for £1,200. That's going to cover your insurance a little bit and any little work that needed doing. It needed some work doing to the sunroof, and so I knocked 300 quid off it. He didn't ask. I did it off my own back, and that helped him get things a little bit sorted and get the car to where he wanted it to be. 15,000 miles later, he's still got the car. However, it could be yours because it's currently for sale on Car and Classic. Jack's bought something a little bit more practical now, but he's had it for, 4 years? And it's got a full year's MOT. It's MOT'd until December 2025. It's had some new tyres and a little bit of work done on it, and he's advertising it for £1,300. Now, I did say to Jack, if you ever want to sell this car, let me know, because I would quite like it back. However, at this moment in time, I can't keep it undercover, and I can't justify the market value, which is £1,300. Don't get me wrong, it's worth exactly what Jack is asking. Sadly, it's not sold yet, and it's been up for sale for a couple of months. I would love to throw £800, £900 his way and have it back. And maybe he'll watch this video and say, John, actually, yeah, you can have it back for that price. So it might come back to the John Coupland collection in the near future, should I be able to have a good old chat with Jack and get it for a price that I can afford and justify. If not, well, it could be yours. Have a look on Car and Classic if you fancy it. Why did I sell it? Well, at the time, I was running out of space. I didn't have my big garage built properly, and I was wanting a little bit of cash out of the collection to buy other things and fund other projects. I'm now in a really lucky position that I can afford to maintain and run 20 other cars. Would I have this one back? Absolutely, in a heartbeat. When did you last see an L-Reg saloon in this autumn bronze colour? Needs a bit of TLC, considering Jack's whacked 15,000 miles on the car, but he's enjoyed it and used it as a daily car, and I've enjoyed getting tagged in posts when he's been spotted out and about on Facebook. That was number 2. It was pipped to the post only just by number 1, which you will see tomorrow. But what do you reckon to this lovely bronze pig? Should I have kept this one as part of my collection? Should I buy it back, or should I leave it? Have it then, another peek at another car from the Coupland collection on our 12 days to Christmas countdown. Another one is coming tomorrow, and we are counting down until the big day. If you've enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Comment down below, what did you reckon? Should I have kept it, or did I do the right thing with it? It's here then, the one you've all been waiting for. What is in at number 1 on the John Coupland Cars Countdown to Christmas advent calendar of mistakes, financial ruin, mechanical problems, and actually good buys? Well, there's no video for you on this one. It's just some chat and some photographs, because this was pre-John Coupland Cars YouTube. But I think you're going to love it. Everybody in Malaysia is going to love it. I loved it, and it's the one I really wish I hadn't sold. Let's take a look. Number 1 then. Look at it. Did you see that coming? It's a Perodua Kalisa, also built in Malaysia, just like my first love, Proton. This one being the EXI 2007 plate. And if you're sat there thinking, hang on, John, I've never heard of you owning this car before, well, there's a very good reason that I'm quiet about it, because it genuinely bugs me that I let this one go. Oh, there's a Nissan Bluebird on my drive there as well in that picture. I didn't film anything for YouTube. This was pre-YouTube time. This was purely when I was buying cars for me that interested me, and I am devastated that I let this one go and had nowhere to keep it at the time, and I needed the money out of it. So I'm launching a campaign this Christmas, which is Find My Perodua Kalisa FX57 LTT. We will discuss its history in a minute, but as you can see there, it was mint. absolutely mint condition, 11,594 miles from new when I bought it. It was supplied locally by DRM Motors in Skegness to a female owner who lived in the little village of Wainfleet. Hence it's got the FX Fens and Forests prefix. It was used by her until her death, and then it was traded in at DMC Motors, who is actually a friend of mine, Nock, shout out to Nock, who has that garage. It's a second-hand car garage, and he buys and sells cars, obviously. He is based next to Neil, my MOT tester. So one day, I took a Proton, I believe, to an MOT test, and Nock came through and went, "I've got something that you want to look at." And he was absolutely right. He showed me this, and I immediately fell in love with it. Brand new, almost. One previous owner, and it was £1,500. And again, at that time, I didn't have John Coupland cars. I wasn't in the current career I'm in. I wasn't as financially stable as I currently am, or lucky. So I didn't have £1,500 to go and spend on a toy to add to my collection at that time. So I let it go, and I was like, "Oh, Nock, I would love to, but I can't." Anyway, a few months later, Nock messaged me to say, "Have you seen that car that you fell in love with is for sale on Facebook Marketplace? It's the lady I sold it to, young lady, 17, had just passed her driving test and wanted a first car. She's gone and bought a Peugeot 107 or something, which has got a lot more street cred and usability than a low-mileage Perodua Calisa, I have to admit," and that was great news for me. So I messaged her immediately on Facebook Marketplace. She had the car up for sale for £700. I knew the car. I didn't even need to look at it, and I went round the corner. Literally, it was about 4 streets away, and gave her £700. I had to have this car. I was devastated that I missed out on it first time round, and for £700, I could then afford that as a toy. I drove it home. Mrs. John Coupland was furious, and my dad thought it was a fantastic little car, but was like, "What are you going to do with that?" And again, this was pre me collecting weird and wacky cars and having the channel. But I washed it, I cleaned it, and then I had this exponential crisis. What am I going to do with it? It's too good to use. I couldn't use it as a daily driver. I couldn't give it to my mum to use. I didn't want to put it in the garage and let it just rot away and sit there and not be enjoyed. And I couldn't let Mrs. John Coupland use it because, well, she hated the blooming thing, and it was what it was. It was really a wacky museum piece, in my opinion. You might be laughing at that. But when did you last see a Perodua Calisa EXI in almost new condition? I think it was missing the original wheel trims because it had been spec'd differently by the lady. But apart from finding a showroom that still had one in it, where are you going to find one of these? Anyway, I put it online on one of these "when did you last see a car" forums, and I was contacted by a chap that had a old Perodua garage. He had an old garage somewhere down in Bournemouth, and he offered me £1,500 for it without even looking at it. He said, I want to buy it. It's £1,500. I will double your money today. And I couldn't turn down, at that time, 750 quid, 800 quid profit. I couldn't. And it to me was going to go to a good place. He was an elderly gentleman, and he used to own a classic garage. And he came up on the train the next day, paid Mrs. John Coupland the cash. I didn't realise he was coming up the next day, and drove the car away. And it's never been taxed, insured, or MOT'd since. It's sitting somewhere. I know it's somewhere. I know it's in his collection. And so I reiterate, my job this Christmas for you and for everybody is to try and find this car. Where is it? The clues I have is that he came up from Bournemouth on the train, and he told me he had an old Perodua garage with a big glass front, and that's where it was going to sit. So if you've seen this Perodua Calisa, in a garage down south and you know where it is, let me know, because I want this car back for my collection. I think it belongs with me as well. It really deserves to be part of the Coupland collection, and I would love to start using it and taking it to shows. Festival of the Unexceptional, local car shows, Rustival 3. Could you imagine if we found it and got it back for Rustival 3? Anyway, that is what is at number 1. I'm sorry I didn't have a video to show you, but hopefully you can see from the images just how good it is, and you can hear from my voice just how passionate I was about this car and how gutted I am that I sold it. Don't get me wrong, I'm thankful for the 750 quid or 800 quid that I made on the car, but I want it back, this one. And this is why it's at number 1 behind the door of the advent calendar. I'm going to have to start talking about it more on the internet now I've released this as number 1, and we are going to have to try and find it. It's out there somewhere. Somebody knows where it is. It would be great, even if I can't buy it back, if the owner doesn't want to sell it, because that's his prerogative, right? To go and see it and have a good look around it and finally make a proper video on this car for the channel. I genuinely hope you enjoyed number 1. I genuinely hope it was a surprise to you and you didn't see it coming, and I genuinely hope we can find it. I wish you all a massive Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks to everyone that supported the channel this year. A full countdown video is coming for you to watch on your Christmas day. Which was your favourite from the 12 that we've counted down? Which did you think I did well to get rid of? Which did you think, John, you should have kept that? And where are we going to find this Perodua Kalisa? Because that is my mission for 2025. Take care. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. There you have it then, another peek at another car from the Coupland collection on our 12 days to Christmas countdown. If you've enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. Comment down below, what did you reckon? Should I have kept it, or did I do the right thing with it? As ever, thank you for watching this video. Dad and I have selected a couple more videos for you that we think that you might like. They're here now. Just give them a click to watch them. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. It means a lot to us. Thank you.